like
it
they
or
hit a
replace it. That's tonight. Tonight was Ted's topic, and Ted came up with the idea that it would be a great idea to have each one of us have 5 jobs we've been on and discuss them to tell why we determine whether they should be fixed or replaced. Because sometimes it's just not worth fixing, as in this picture. This poor police car came upon some bad juju right there. And I can guarantee you they ain't fixing that one. So
No,
anyway, tonight's
that's
fix
not
it or
fixed.
replace it. So let me check something here.
I think Mr.
Big
Lowe
old
will
man
not be
tonight.
going.
Hey, thanks guys for coming tonight, by the way. It's been a pleasure talking to you. No, I'm kidding. So tonight we were going to alternate between Steve, Ted, and Jason, but apparently we're going to alternate right now between Steve, and Steve. And make sure to type your questions and comments in the questions section. I'm sure Jason will be more than happy to interrupt me. I have no idea what order I stuck my boilers in to show you, because I just dropped them in. I picked 5 or 6 jobs that I thought would be fun to talk about, that I can give you firsthand knowledge on. And I just thought it would be fun to put them in just totally random order, because I thought we'd be going between all 3 of us and it really wouldn't matter. But so this will be just as much of a surprise as what we're going to see, just as much to you as it is to me.
Hey, I can pull some up for you. If you want to see them, I can pull some up for you. I'll work on
Well,
that.
you might want to put a couple on the queue, because we can always rotate back to you. So, all right. So this job, this is a great job. So I want to point out a couple of things here. First, I was called on this job because these boilers weren't working. I was called on this job by the contractor, a new contractor, because the building was just purchased. This 10,000 square foot house was just purchased by Brain Doctor out of Manhattan, and purchased cash, of course. Didn't need a mortgage, and he wanted to know the contractor wanted to know what it was going to take to fix these boilers. Now, I want to point out a couple obvious things to you, or at least obvious to me. I want you to look right up here at the stack and see that stack, the actual pipe, is larger than the rubber couplings, and both of these are black. That's clue number 1. Clue number 2, that the previous contractor had no idea what he was doing, is if you look through here, you can see through there to the wires, because he didn't know to take 4 screws off the jacket and 4 screws off the flue collector, remove the top to get to all the safeties. Clue number 3 is if you climbed up on a ladder like I did and looked down inside, you would see all the safeties had been jumped out on this boiler and on the other boiler. Clue number 4, these boilers were running 24/7, 7 days a week. No thermostat was run to it. Their idea of cascading, or having a lead follow situation, was to just jump out the TT terminals on the top and let these boilers run all the time, which is quite novel because, well, they were just cranking the crap out of it. Next thing you'll see is that this is ABS venting. ABS venting in New Jersey at one point was allowed, but then was written out of the code because of problems they were having. So you can see they replaced the first short piece with CPVC that's been exploded by now. But all this venting needed to be replaced when they did work on these boilers. Believe it or not, you can't even touch this stuff. You can't patch into it. You touch it, you own it. You have to replace it. So this is what I saw, but I wanted to look further to find out what was going on with these vents and why they were so exploded and why they were so overheated. So this was a while ago, before I started walking out and looking at the venting, before I walked into the boiler room. And I walked outside, and the intake and exhaust came out at about 18 inches above grade, and there was an arborvitae right there planted between it and the pool deck. No big deal yet, because they just put elbows on those 2 pipes pointing down. It went down 2 feet to the top of the ground, went alongside of the building about 30 feet, went back alongside the building about 20, and down the hill about 140 feet to where the actual discharge of these exhausts was 3 feet or 4 feet below the actual boilers. These boilers were absolutely toast. So you know what I said? Replace it. And this is what the new job looks like. This is what that exact same system looks like, all taken care of. You'll notice on the exhaust, they did hook up to the ABS for the intake. They did hook up to the ABS. But for the exhaust, they changed it all over using our CPVC piece and running out with PVC. So beautiful job. The brain doctor could do it. And when I started to get pushback from the contractor to replace these, I asked him this simple question. If this man can come from Manhattan to northern Jersey, buy a house that was worth probably somewhere between $5 and $10 million, do you not think that if you try to repair the other boilers that are already toast, that he can't afford to sue your ass? Just propose to him 2 new boilers. And he totally agreed with me. So this is the job they got. Doesn't that look beautiful? Wait a minute. Before and after. Isn't that beautiful? What a nice job, huh? All right. So I don't know what's coming up next because I have that blanked out on my screen. So this is going to be kind of fun. Unless you have one to come up. I can flip it
No,
over.
I'm looking for some. Yeah,
All right.
I'm sorry. I've been training all week, so let me get something up
Fix
here.
or replace. Fix or replace. Here's a beautiful New Yorker steel oil fired boiler. This is all fun and good, except for one, the boiler was about 25 years old at this time. And two, the vent that you see, the chimney here going in, looks like it's decode. I mean, it comes up, you have the barometric damper on the end. It looks like it should be okay. I mean, you got a leak on the plate. I mean, you know, the domestic hot water wasn't very adequate, but, you know, it was doable. We could have flushed that. But the biggest problem in this house was the carbon monoxide detector was going off when the boiler was running. So the first thing we did is we looked to see if there was any leaks on the flue pipe anywhere around here. Barometric damper was working fine. I couldn't pick up any CO2 coming off of this. So I looked at this stack going in, and I'm looking at the chimney, and I went outside and I looked up on the chimney, and there was only one exit out the chimney, and there's a fireplace upstairs. So long ago, there was a commonality that sometimes they would put the 2 flues together midway up and have them go out as one. So I thought, what the heck? Let me look into this further. So I went up to the fireplace upstairs and opened up the glass doors. And coming from the ash pit, you know, the little ash door where you shovel the ashes down, was a piece of round smoke pipe that had been squished to oval and shoved in there and run up to the flue damper and just stopped right below the flue damper. That was the exhaust for this boiler. And they said, so we fix it or replace it. I said, do you want a fireplace or don't you? They said, what do you mean? I said, well, the best way to do this, if you want to keep this boiler, is going to put a power venter on it and vent it out through the wall, which I don't suggest you do at all. The other thing to do is to disconnect and run the chimney all the way down through and forget the fireplace and close that up and run a liner down through. And they wanted the chimney. So, you know what we did? We gave more basement space, and we went to the right about 6 feet and put a beautiful TFT boiler in and a nice indirect. Now they have unlimited amount of hot water. They have a beautiful heating system, and everything's running great. I will say this is also a job that was 100% cast iron radiators or number 9 baseboard. The system was so full of magnetite, it would choke a horse. And if you're not sure what magnetite is and you missed our whole water quality night, magnetite's the black stuff that you get on your hands that doesn't come out of your calluses and smells like crap. Yeah, this will kill, magnetite will kill a fire tube boiler. So when we put this in, before we put it in, while the old New Yorker was still there, we put, I counted up the number of rads, guessed the amount of water, figured that each can was good for about 26 gallons, plugged that much number 3, Fernox number 3 into the system, ran it with the heat on, with the doors open and the windows open to get rid of the carbon monoxide, ran it for about a day, and then flushed the entire system, moved the boiler, drained the system, moved the boiler. When we put the new boiler in, I filled it with 4 cans of number 1 and went back to test the system after about 6 years. Pulled a water sample off of one of the troughs with the yellow handles right there. Down the bottom, actually, I pulled it from down below the boiler down here, and where it would be worse. And I had 0 magnetite in the system. So if you're not sure, this is a beautiful low loss header sitting here. These are all B&G 8-speed ECM pumps, and of course Taco relays. Why did I use B&G pumps and a B&G/Calefi low loss header? Because that's my rep here in Philadelphia has them, and well, I could get it at a good price. So, all right. Fix it or replace it. Fix it or replace it. This is a brand new boiler, relatively new. It was only about 2 years old. That was suffering from some error codes, stuffed in a closet, very tight, hadn't been cleaned, and was giving high temperature lockouts and lock one or flame lockouts on it. And of course, the customer wanted it replaced. The contractor was willing to replace it. What we did on this job is we simply cleaned, had the contractor clean the combustion chamber. We replaced the motherboard and the touchscreen just to ensure that we had a matched pair and that they had the most recent software. And to date now, 6 years later, that boiler hasn't hiccuped at all, but is now being cleaned on an annual basis. So clean and replace, clean and replace, clean and replace. This one got cleaned or fixed. I love this picture. Of course, the complaint was lack of heat in the job, and I hate to say this, but I wish I still had a picture of the one I saw 2 days ago that had probably 20 zones of radiant and about 300 too many feet of tubing around the boiler. You could barely get to the boiler from the PEX that was coming down from the ceiling. But this boiler was not providing heat to the house and had never been since the person did this beautiful job of installation. Expansion, look at this. You got the expansion tank. You got the old cast iron air scoop that they reused. They have 2 relatively new circulators. And because they had 3/4 PEX, they used, 3/4 copper, they used 3/4 PEX to run to everything, but they returned in 1/2 inch coming through and 3/4 on a couple. And I just don't get it. You can see a 1/2 inch coming off here to go to one zone, 1/2 inch coming back. You got 1/2 inch here, you got 3/4 here. And this is a job that was older. It was, what's that?
I got it, Steve. You know why they did that you know why they did that 3/4 and 1/2 inch? Because they had a bunch of rolls of PEX back at the shop.
Yeah, and it's blue to boot, and blue is aqua, right? So they don't make blue for radiant heat. So all these problems. Thank God it was a FR boiler with a wet leg, so all the magnetite would go down the back. But yeah, they kept the boiler and fixed the system all around it. What a nightmare! And these people live with this for years like that. I just don't get it. So let me see. Wow. Oh, I also like this. I love the little purge stations that they put in on the PEX with regular ball valves and insert fittings. I just thought it's, the harder you look at this, the worse it gets. The wiring is just class not. They screwed the relay, which is actually pretty common. They screwed the Takeo relay directly onto the jacket of the boiler, which is okay. I've done that in the past in tight spots, but when you're going onto a monoflow system that's 1.25 inch mains everywhere, and you have some other zones that are 3/4 inch, guys, if you don't know what the flow rate of PEX is, 3/4 PEX flow rate is about the same as 1/2 inch copper. 1 inch is about the same as 3/4 copper. So sometimes a little less depending on the manufacturer because of the rimples inside, because it's not perfectly smooth or rifled like copper. So please, guys, stop running 3/4 PEX to duct coils on the 3rd and 2nd floor. It's like running 1/2 inch copper. If you're going to do it, you should be using 1.25 inch PEX. And if you're going to buy 1.25 inch PEX, you might as well just buy 1 inch copper and do the goddamn job right. So anyway, this PEX service lines should be shot. I like this. Bad plumbing company. It says just bad plumbing company. Somebody wrote on the wall.
That's crazy. You know what? Also, we're probably running 1/2 inch. They probably wanted to get their flow up. They went from 3/4 to 1/2 inch thinking the flow was going to get better.
Oh my God, they probably did. I like all the puffy insulation coming out the wall too. That's always good.
It looks like it's all burnt.
It's amazing. So here's a beautiful job. This is a beautiful install. I I forget what boiler this is. I forget the manufacturer, but I'm assuming it's a Burnham because there's a Burnham tank next to it. It's a stone line indirect water heater. I mean, beautiful straight lines, beautiful fill valve coming into the wrong place because the fill valve should come in where the expansion tank is up here. You have your circulator here. See the circulator? Comes down and around. Here's the fill, and here's the expansion tank. What that means is that I'm sure this boiler's been blowing off its relief valve every 2 to 3 months, because every time this pump comes on here, it drops the pressure all the way over to the point of no pressure change, which is here, right? And that drops the pressure here, which tells the fill valve to fill the system. So every time this pump comes on, this fill valve fills. Amazing. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was this was red tagged because it just wasn't working at all. And I had suggested maybe it'd be worth fixing. And the contractor said, "Don't you sell boilers?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, maybe you should sell us a new boiler for it." I said, "Well, if you're going to condemn it, I'd be more than happy to." So, do you recognize that boiler, Jason?
You sell a new boiler?
Do you recognize that boiler?
Yeah, I do.
And do you understand how good those controls were not that were on that?
Yes, I do. I know
So
that
when the
control
guy
very
said he wanted to
freaking well.
what's that?
I know that control very freaking well.
Yeah, you had to because of the fun times we never had with them.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny that the contractor was just fed up replacing controls and trying to keep this thing running. And this is the after. You ready for the after? Beauty, eh?
Big difference. Big difference.
Yeah. And look who did it.
Oh,
That was our boys.
see,
That was
that's
our
how it's
boys of
supposed to.
Foley. You'll be seeing on Monday.
Yeah, I just talked to
So,
Brian.
yeah.
We get together and have din with him the night before. That's nice.
So
That's how it would be. That's how it's supposed to be. Look at that. Straight. You see, he owns a level. You can tell that.
yep.
Tank mounted on the back. That looks nice, man.
He did a nice job. It was a nice little LX boiler, and
He does good work. Like that job we looked at over there in DC. He does good. Those boys do
yep.
good work.
I mean, please note that this is in DC where they use international codes, so you have to use CPVC fire rated
Right.
or polypropylene for your exhaust. But of course, you can use standard PVC for your intake. That's not a problem. Nice 80-gallon
Love
indirect,
that.
because Dan Foley is of the mindset, and I kind of agree with him. Go with the smaller boiler and put it in a bigger indirect so you have enough hot water. So the people were complaining prior, not only did not have enough heat because the boiler kept failing, but they didn't have adequate hot water. So he kept the boiler down in size and increased the size of the tank so they would have enough hot water during the peak demand times.
And the LX is a workhorse, man. That boiler is just a workhorse. You know what I like? Look, that is a great picture where you can see the supports for the venting, where he supported the venting coming up with the threaded rod. I love that. See, now that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, he did a good job.
You will see the supports. That's code too. So I get excited over stupid things, like nice boiler pictures.
Yeah. I was just reading a comment from Bentley saying that I was telling people how to adjust if they can't hear me, how they can get to the right speaker. Thank you, Bentley. Anyway, I was assuming they were calling on their phone, Bentley, and using the phone audio and using their monitor to monitor this. Anyway, let's see what else I got here. Oh, God.
Oh, damn. Damn.
Damn, this is a TI boiler.
Hey, look at the guy's face. He's like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, so this is in a condominium project that we were called out on. That was a single zone system. There was 24 condos in here. This was in New York City. Each condo was worth around $2.5 million, and they hired, I think, the cheapest bidder to put these in.
You can tell.
So the boiler was working just fine. And I think that's what Mark here was thinking. He was thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this thing's running. But what we were amazed about is there's no primary, secondary piping here at all. See, this boiler had a bypass here to go back when it went into domestic call. The diverter valve here would divert, and the flow would come through here and go to the plate heat exchanger and come back out again, right? So, and when that diverter valve, when that 3-way valve switched, it would send the water to the primary loop, which we don't have a primary loop. The venting here, absolutely wrong. If you had seen it above what I'm showing you here, you would have nightmares. There was even jobs in this where they were a half an inch off with their pipes coming down, so they used a piece of 3-inch galvanized, a 3-inch galvanized adjustable elbow, made it straight and offset it. And they wanted me to approve all this. And I wrote a very long diatribe on how to fix it. You also notice that down the bottom here, they used a gas water heater flexible hose instead of a correct appliance hose for a boiler. So everything was pretty well wrong on this.
Well, it's nice that it's really nice that they made a trap to catch the sediment from the gas on the gas line there. You see that?
The drip leg, the built-in drip leg.
We have no gas pressure. We'll have no volume. That's pretty cool. That's good thinking outside.
There was so much wrong with this, and in every single job. What's that?
They left the bottle of Fernox on top of the boiler. Wow. The one we give them, they left it there. At least they're nice.
Why use it? So
why use it? Just leave it there.
Unfortunately, this boiler was constantly blowing off the relief valve. So what did they do to correct that? They turned off the fill and they turned off the expansion tank, which I thought was quite novel because apparently the expansion tank was causing this thing to blow off. And if you notice, where you need 18 inches before an air scoop, we have the standardized 5 inches. Yeah. So that's not going to work either. So the whole job was just screwed up in the beginning. So that was quite novel to repair. But it was a repair. And they are all working today, believe it or not.
You know what, Steve? He did one thing right. He at least took the backflow preventer blow off and put it in a piece of PVC. At least he did something nice. You okay? You see that? I just looked out and think, at least he put the backflow preventer drain into a drain.
Yep. Yeah, the more you look at it, the worse it gets,
What the hell's on is that no way, that is perfect. The condensate line. See the condensate line? He built a perfect trap. Perfect.
So it's supposed to be 18 inches, and this was his 24-inch coil to go down to the.
He said screw cut it. I'm just gonna mount it to the wall.
That's not screwed. That's actually those PEX clips with the snail clips. They just nailed that into the. You could pull that right off. That was just nailed into the drywall. Yeah. So, like I said, it just gets worse. I wonder what I have next. That was a surprise. I had this one here.
That one's pretty good. Look at that. Birds in your backyard.
That was the look I had when I walked into every one of those boiler rooms. Me and the rep and the wholesaler like, huh? What are we gonna find next? And everyone just got worse. That was the better one of all the 30 units. That was the better one of the 30 units.
Damn.
So this is one of my favorites. This is 6 tankless Rinnai water heaters, 200,000 BTU apiece. 200,000 BTU apiece. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 1.2 million BTU of tankless water heaters. Supplying, you ready for this? They put this many in because this is an egg/poultry farm where they need to hose everything down every day through a 2-inch fire hose. Down in Maryland, quite unique. And these had lasted, you can see that none of them are the same age. Like this one, and this one are the same age, and this one, and this one are the same age because they keep having to replace them or repair them. And they said, we have 2 offline right now. What should we do? Should we repair them or replace them? And I looked up on the Rinnai paperwork to see how much they could actually get out of these for hot water and what the actual demand was. And the fact that their 2-inch fire hose could not run at full throttle using these because of the flow restriction on each one. So I said, I think you should replace them. So what do you think I replaced it with? 6
One
Navian water heaters. No, I'm kidding. I didn't use 6 Navian water heaters. What are you, stupid?
You only need 2.
We
One or
did 2 LX 600s and 2 120-gallon indirect water heaters. I'm sorry, 2 120-gallon storage tanks. I didn't mean to say indirect water heaters, storage tanks, and ran them with that. And I can say this, that we had designed this system to run that 2-inch garden hose, 2-inch fire hose full blast at 140 degrees maximum, because that's what they need for sanitization. If you know anything, we're not trying to sterilize, we're trying to sanitize. So all they need by code is 140 degree water. And when I got there, I tuned these up one day. I came back 3 months later to see how they were doing. These tanks were running at 180 degrees. And with the 2-inch hose fully open, they could not run it out. So it was pretty slick. It was pretty slick. Did you find anything yet, Jason?
No, I'm just updating my email and stuff. It's taking forever.
So you're not even looking for a picture then?
Yeah, I was trying to, but it's freezing up. Who did this job? It's a nice job.
Larry and Sons, down in Maryland. So I guess what the story and more is, gentlemen, and those of you who are on here, I look at a lot of jobs in a day, in a week, in a month, and I see a lot that could be repaired, but then we got to think about the cost of the repair. So for instance, a 12-year-old or 14-year-old condensing boiler that needs a $600 board, see, that $600 you could put towards a $2,000 or $2,300 boiler and just replace the boiler and have another 15 years out of it and do it right. I look at cast iron boilers, and so does Jason every day. And you get to a job where and it looks like crap because, it's on a basement. They never put blocks under it, and the jacket's all rusted, but the cast iron's solid. The L80-124 is still solid. The problem is that the coil keeps on getting gummied up by the calcium in the water. When you could just take the L80-124 off, put an L80-148 on, and put an indirect on the system and get it running that way. It all depends on what the customer can afford. But can the customer afford you coming back? I mean, if the motherboard's blown and the Fenwal control is blown, and the jacket's all rotted out, and it's a condensing boiler, you might want to consider replacing it. Cast iron boiler over 30 years, built like a brick shit house, thick as a brick, not going to wear out. Cast iron's going to be there forever. But and you say your burn efficiency is at 86%, and I'll tell you your seasonal efficiencies are around 35%, and they'll save a shitload of money by going with a condensing boiler. But here's the next problem you come upon, and something I was addressing earlier today. Someone said, "Wow, well, I think I'll go propane because propane's half the cost."
Yeah.
But if you get really good propane, it's
that's a question.
84,000 BTUs per gallon compared to 110,000 BTUs a gallon. So you're already taking a 40,000 BTU hit on the output. So that propane better be half the price. And then you got tanks to worry about. You have to do tank remediation. If the people have a buried tank, you're gonna have to pull that out, hope that nothing spills in the meantime, and then bury a propane tank. I have a hard time with being able to justify the expense to go propane over what you're going to save over oil. But I can do it. Outside of that, let's fix it or replace it, boys. I was hoping.
Thanks for watching the video today. If you'd like to check out more videos, see the link below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for all the future updates. And also check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.